Hi, my name is Lindsey, and I'm going to provide general information about heartworms. I do take a personal interest in heartworms because I own 8 dogs, and I often get rescues through the English Bulldog Rescue that are often surrendered because they have heartworms, and the owners hear heartworms and think automatically that a dog has to be put down. So I do take a personal interest in heartworms because of this. This is a picture of a heart right here that has heartworms, and this heart right here has probably had them for about 7 years or so. The statistics in the United States are basically, they're very hard to know the exact amount of dogs that have been diagnosed because there's too many stray dogs, there's not enough dogs that go to the vet on a regular basis in order for them to be able to keep track of exactly how many dogs there is. But all 50 states in the United States have documented cases of heartworms, except for Alaska. Alaska is the only one because of their climate and they have mosquito vectors and climate conditions to support the transmission of heartworms. Maturation of mosquito larvae ceases at temperatures below 57, which is why Alaska has never had any documented cases. This is basically just a map of the United States showing where the most cases are, and as you can see down here, this is where most of the cases have all been reported. There's a few over here, but not nearly as many as down here. This is the complete life cycle here. There's basically 4 main phases of the life cycle of a heartworm. The first one is microfilariae, which are microscopic larvae that live in the blood of an infected dog. And then it is ingested by the mosquito once it bites that dog. And that's basically showing it right here. The mosquito's biting the dog, and then it comes and it bites an uninfected dog, and the microfilariae burrows into the tissue where it stays on an average for, I think, 2 to 3 days. And then it matures and migrates through the dog's tissue for several weeks. I think that's about when it's down to that point. The larvae become juvenile worms about 2 months after the initial infection and enter the dog's vascular system. At this point in time, they're about 1 to 3 centimeters in length, and they travel throughout the blood up towards the heart and the lungs, where they will then mature into adult worms. And that takes place usually at around 70 days after the initial bite. Adulthood is the last phase, which usually occurs in the pulmonary artery. That's showing right here. It's now in the heart and up by the pulmonary artery. This artery becomes clogged with dead worms and live worms, so it is a serious condition. Can result in many health problems, including sudden death, which is because basically the worms pretty much like suffocate the heart and clog the arteries. The early signs of heartworms will not appear until about 2 years. At this point, at 2 years is when they start to get a persistent cough. The cough will eventually interfere with the dog's ability to participate in any activities. This is a heart right here that's similar to the first one I showed, and it's got a lot of heartworms. The symptoms are basically a persistent cough that affects the dog's physical activity, abnormal lung sounds and heart sounds, syncope, and loss of consciousness due to the poor blood flow to the brain. There's only one type of treatment, and that is imiticide right here. It is very expensive and dangerous. It's an arsenic-based product that is injected into the dogs over like a 2 to 3 different intervals, and it kills the heartworms within the blood vessels and also within the heart. It does cause blockage, which is the reason that the dog could end up with sudden death. The average cost of this medication is $300 to $1,000 depending on the area that the person lives in and the demand of it in that area. This is basically, these are noodles, and But this is basically what the heartworms look like. And at 7 years, there can be over 270 heartworms in a dog's heart. And at that time, they usually will average about 12 inches in length. And they just go all within the inside of the heart and suffocate it basically until it stops working. So, as you can see, the heartworms truly are a dog's worst nightmare. Here you go, you can pass it around if you like. Touch it. Yeah. The mosquito basically feeds on an infected dog and then infects another dog with that same blood. After about 70 days, as I said, the worms become adults and begin to multiply within the heart. The heartworms can grow up to 12 inches and generally live 5 to 7 years depending on the treatment provided. Monthly preventatives are available, and the average cost of those is usually about $80 annually for like a 12-month supply. So that's pretty much it. This is just listing what preventions are available. And this is just saying that there's 64% of dogs go to the veterinarians and leave without heartworm preventatives. So that's a very large amount that is not being protected. And that's it. Is there any questions that I can answer? Ariel, Trinita, Ms. Jack.
Do they why do they stay in the heart? Because the vessels are too small to go back into them when they reach that?
Because of the heart having the different chambers and the most area to be able to multiply. So they go from the heart to the lungs between the two. And then there's enough room for them. So they just stay right there within that heart and continue to multiply until, I mean, at 7 years is usually, they say that's when the dog starts, anywhere from 2 years to 7 years is when they start having signs and symptoms, and by that time it's really too late. But I mean, the treatment is available, but there is no guarantee that the dog will make it through because the treatment is dangerous itself. It's almost like a chemotherapy type, so.
Them it is, and it takes weeks. Sometimes because when they go in, they get their shots and things like that. They don't say, well, a lot of vets don't say, well, try to get the heart to whatever, like you said,
And even with the treatment, once they die, they can end up clogging an artery. So, I mean, the dog,
they can go in and have everything, and then not even.
All right, thank you, everyone.